Yep. Good morning, everyone. So last session, I given a simple overview on what is the requirement, why we need Angular. So I will just give a summary of yesterday's concept. So we discussed, we started learning Angular. We will learn 15 version. I told you that Angular 15 is the very recent release. Now we are going to learn this Angular 15 version. And in Angular 15, before going into Angular, we discussed a few points. So what is Angular? Remembered what is Angular? Angular is an developer's platform. Developer's platform. I told you that many people say Angular as framework. That is also correct, but it is more than a framework. Angular is not just a framework, it is more than a framework. It is an developer's platform. What is a developer's platform means? Developer's platform means it provides end-to-end solution for developer. End-to-end solution for developer means from building to deploying. From building to deploying, whatever tools are required, all are provided by any software. Then we call it as a developer's platform. So we will have a lot of integration here. That means Angular provides tools for developing, building application, debugging application, testing application, and also deploying. So it provides complete end-to-end application, right? Right. Next important is we discussed about what are the challenges in modern web development. Modern web development. You remembered few challenges we discussed. What are the challenges in modern web development? Challenges in modern web development, one is unified user experience. Unified user experience means an application must work on every device in the same way. Every environment, it should work in a same way. We have unified experience, fluid user experience, loosely coupled and extensible architecture. These are the challenges in modern web development. How to overcome these challenges? So to overcome the challenges, better use, better build. What kind of applications? We have to build single page applications. Can we build single page application with JavaScript and jQuery? Yes, we can build. We can build single page application with JavaScript and jQuery. But what are issues in JavaScript, jQuery? The issues in JavaScript and jQuery, JavaScript requires lot of DOM manipulations. jQuery requires DOM manipulations. Another one, lot of coding is required, lot of Ajax is required. So we can build single page applications, but so many issues are there. To overcome those issues, we are using technologies in the latest generation like Angular, React, and Angular, React, Vue, Backbone, Knockout. All these are the latest technologies that we are using. So if anybody asks what is the purpose of Angular, by using Angular, what you can do? So by using Angular, we can build single page application. Angular is used for building what kind of apps? Single page applications. So we are going to learn how to build single page applications. By using Angular, we are going to do that. Okay. This is the basic concept that we discussed in the last session. So what is Angular and what are the challenges and how to build single page application? Why we need Angular? These topics I explained, right? So if anyone missed out these topics yesterday we discussed, I will give you a classroom link at the end. So you can get the information about what we discussed in the last session from that classroom. Right, you will get the previous related notes and video so that you can go through it. Okay. So these are the concepts we learned yesterday. Now, today we will discuss some more points. Important what you are going to understand today. Today we will see. So, what is difference between Angular and Angular JS? That is the first thing you need to understand. Actually, we are learning Angular. We are not learning Angular JS. So Angular JS is different. Angular is different. Angular and Angular JS both are different. So what is difference? Let's see. What is the difference between Angular and Angular JS, right? Actually, Google introduced Angular JS in 2010. Google introduced Angular JS in 2010. They introduced this in 2010. For what purpose? They introduced Angular JS in 2010 for building single page applications, for building SPA. So before Angular JS, we were building single page applications by using JavaScript, jQuery, some other libraries are there like Knockout.js and all. In 2010, Google introduced Angular JS, and this Angular JS became popular among developers because it is from Google, which is a big player in software companies, means in software industry. So Google's Angular JS, actually Google Angular JS already there with Google. For example, I will show you here. Suppose I hope you people know developers dot Google. This is Google developers community. This is Google developers community. Similarly, like Google developers, Facebook developers community is also there. Do you have any idea about this? No. Actually, this developers community is nothing but you can join here for free, and you can build apps with your technology, whatever you know, and you can give those apps to Google. Google will check them. If Google feels that it is good, it is interesting, then Google will put those apps in Google Play Store. You see, Google Play Store is there. In Google Play Store, so many apps are present. You can download and use them. Are all those apps developed by Google? No. Majority of such apps are developed by third parties. They are developed by developers like you. What you can do, you can build app and you can give it to Google. If Google likes it, it will put it in the store. And for that, they pay you also. They monetize. That means Google will monetize. They pay money for your apps. It is a Google developers community. This is what actually this community is. Now, what you can do is you can build an app for Google. Now, the question is which technology we should use. So we ask Google this question, which technology I can use to build app? Then Google says, whatever technology you know, you use it and build it and give to us. We will take care about it. That means you can use Java, .NET, PHP, Python, anything. What technology you know, use the technology and build. So as developers, what we done, we built applications and we given to Google. But we are not satisfied very much, because Google have their own apps, and those apps were far better than the apps we are developing. Then we asked Google what you are using. Then Google said that we are having our own framework called Angular JS. By using that framework, we are building our apps. Then developers asked Google, then why can't you give that framework to us, so that we will also use that framework and build apps? So then Google, what they have done in 2010, they made Angular JS as open source, so that every developer can download the library and he can start using it for building apps. So Angular JS was there before world knows about Angular JS. That means before our developer knows about Angular JS, Angular JS is being used by Google internally. Internally, Google uses Angular JS for their apps. Now, from 2010, when they made it open source, we also started using it. So it became popular because Google have a good support for this library. So we started using it. Everywhere we started implementing this Angular JS. So Angular JS originally developed by whom? Google. It is developed by Google, and it is released in 2010 for building what kind of apps? Single page applications. Actually, AngularJS is open source. It is open source and cross-platform framework. Cross-platform framework developed by Google and maintained by a large community of developers and organizations. It is maintained by a large community of developers and organizations. So built by Google, but not only Google is maintaining it, several developers and communities and organizations are maintaining this Angular JS. That means you can also contribute to Angular. That means if you have good programming knowledge, you can tell what problems they have, you can fix their problems, you can give new suggestions to their software. Because what is meant by open source? Open source means anyone can contribute to that, anyone can customize. Open source means you can use the library and you can customize according to your requirements. If any library you can use exactly how they given, if you cannot change, then it is not open source. Open source means it allows you to change. That means you can take that library, you can make changes, and you can customize according to your requirements. That is actually open source is. So generally here Angular JS was introduced by Google, and it is maintained by community of developers and organization. So what is good about this is, it is good for building what kind of application? Single page. But we have some problems. Problem is actually Angular JS is not designed for what you are using. Angular JS is not designed for what you are using. then hence lot of gaps are there. Hence lot of gaps. Actually, AngularJS, we started using AngularJS. We are building applications by using AngularJS. But what is problem with AngularJS is AngularJS designed for your requirements? AngularJS is not designed for your requirements. AngularJS is actually designed by Google for their internal purpose. That means Google developed AngularJS for their internal purpose. You asked Google to give it to you. That means you are using some software which is not developed for you. Then obviously several requirements that you need, they don't have. Am I right? A software is not developed for you, but you are using it. That means it is developed by somebody for their purpose and you are using it. Then obviously lot of gaps will be there. So this is the problem. Then what we have to do is we have to depend on lot of third parties. We need to depend on lot of third parties. I will tell you one simple example. For example, see, generally, so we have one simple point here is suppose a client is there. So like a supermarket client. This supermarket client wants to maintain his business using a software. And suppose you are working for a software company, like some Wipro, Infosys, TCS, you are working for a software company. Now, this supermarket chain, they came to Wipro and say, can you build an application for us so that we can maintain our business all over India, everywhere. So supermarket related complete business. Now, Wipro have to develop an app for that supermarket. Now the question is, which technology they will use? Which technology they will select? Will they develop in Java or .NET or PHP or Python? Which technology they will choose? To choose a technology, so technically, before choosing any technology, these people will prepare one table. That table contains as is, to be, and a gap. They will prepare one table. As is means, as is nothing but what your technology is capable of. What your technology is capable of, that is as is. To be means what client wants, that is to be. Gap means what client wants and your technology is not having it. That is called as gap. Every technology have some gaps. Every technology have some gaps. For example, suppose if you are already learning some technology like Java, .NET, if I ask you a question like in Java, .NET, Python, PHP, can you write a program to generate barcode? You are a Java developer, you are a .NET developer, or you are a PHP Python developer. Can you write any program to read a barcode or generate barcode? What do you say? Then how you will build a supermarket app? Supermarket app completely depends on barcodes. That means you pull a product, they will scan the barcode. That means Java, .NET, PHP, all these learners, if you ask, can you write a program for generating barcode? Some people say, we never learned that. Actually, your technologies don't have any library like that. Then what your technologies have to do? That means if your technology is not having a library for generating barcode, generating QR code, reading barcode, reading QR code, then how your technology is complete? That means your technology is having some gaps. Now, how these gaps are filled? How these gaps are filled? By using third parties. By using third parties. That means somebody develops a code for barcode. Your Java, .NET, PHP, these technologies will take that code, will take that library, and they will use it. That means your technologies will use library from third parties. For which purpose? For filling the gaps. Every technology in the world is not complete. They have to fill the gaps by using third party. It is general everywhere. For example, suppose you are having a mobile. Some mobile is Samsung. I hope you people know the camera lens used in Samsung mobile doesn't belong to Samsung. You know that? Then you cannot ask why Samsung cannot build their own lens. That means you ask Java or .NET like technologies. You are the biggest technologies in the world. Can't you develop a library for barcode? Am I right? Then they will say that already we are busy with a lot of things. We can't involve in everything. They can't. That means Samsung is already busy in doing some business, some manufacturing. They can't involve in every part. Then somebody is very popular in making lens. Then we will go there and we will purchase. That means we will use them and put them. That means in your mobile, you are using a Samsung or LG or iPhone or anything. In that, the parts belong to approximately more than 40-50 companies. One company will supply keyboard, one company will supply the sensors, one company will supply the camera, one company supplies the lens in camera. Right? That means it is completely assembled and used. Every software technology is like that. You cannot say that this technology is great, this technology is not. Why? Because any sensible developer knows that every technology have its own problems. And every technology is not capable of doing everything. They have gaps. And Angular JS was having lot of gaps. Why? Because it is not developed for our requirements, but we are using. Then obviously lot of gaps are there. Then how technology selected? You see here, suppose Java is having 20% gap. PHP is having suppose 3% gap. .NET is having suppose some 15% gap, like that. Now Wipro will decide that, okay, let's build this application using PHP. Why they will build application using PHP? Because 97% PHP can fulfill. Only 3% they have to depend on third parties. In that case, they choose PHP as technology for building a supermarket app. For example, if you go to Wipro, in that company, only Java developers will be there. Only .NET developers will be there. All are present. Why? All are working on only one project. No. That means why Wipro is not using only Java for all projects? Because every project has its own requirements, and for every project a technology may not be suitable. They depend on gaps. So that is the reason all are used according to situation. Here you see third parties, so many third parties are there. For example, you see Telerik. Telerik is a third party. You can see Telerik is one third party. These Telerik people, see the customers of Telerik. These are customers of Telerik. NASA is customer of Telerik. Microsoft is customer of Telerik. IBM is customer of Telerik. IBM itself is a huge. Microsoft itself is very huge. NASA is too intelligent. Can't they build their own apps? NASA is in space research. They are high, they have highly intellectual people. Can't they build their apps? Why they are borrowing from these people? Because they don't want to involve in this, because already they are busy in their space research. They don't want to involve in software development. Somebody is doing good in that, borrow from them and use. So every technology have these things. For example, you see these people, I will show you demos. These people will provide support for .NET, for Java. You can see JSP, .NET, all are there. When I go to JSP demos, you can see they will give you lot of controls. In that you will find barcodes, everything. You can see barcode. There is a barcode and barcode related library code, everything they will provide. You can see all the logic they given here. That means the technologies need support of third parties. AngularJS main problem is when Google developed AngularJS, they developed for their purpose and everybody started using it. Then they cannot satisfy everybody's requirement. Then lot of gaps will be there. This is the major problem we faced in the beginning of AngularJS. Another important is AngularJS uses JavaScript as language. It uses JavaScript as language. What is problem in JavaScript? JavaScript is not strongly typed language. It is not strongly typed language. And JavaScript is not an OOP language. Not an OOP language. It supports only few features of OOP. JavaScript supports only some features of object-oriented programming. It is not a complete object-oriented programming. And JavaScript is not strongly typed. Strongly typed means what? Not strongly typed means data type restriction not there. Data type restriction is not there. Data type restriction means in general your programming languages, you will say int a. That means a is integer. But in JavaScript, in a you can store anything. You can store integer, you can store string, you can store boolean. It will not restrict. There is no restriction. Then lot of problem will come. Another important, it is not a complete OOP language. JavaScript supports only some features of object-oriented programming. It will not support all the features of OOPs. Due to that, problem is, can you tell what may be the problem if it is not a complete OOP language? If it is not a complete OOP language, then extensibility issues will come. Extensibility issues will come. So loosely coupled, not loosely coupled. Loosely coupled. It is not loosely coupled. But for single page applications, we need easy extensibility. We need good loosely coupled. That is what the challenges we discussed. So it is not easily extendable. It is not loosely coupled. These are all the problems we are facing with AngularJS. AngularJS. So what happened is Google developed AngularJS up to versions up to 1.8. 1.8 is the last version. They developed versions of AngularJS up to 1.8. Up to 1.8, they started, they released versions one by one up to 1.8. After 1.8, Google decided that we will stop this now. We will stop AngularJS. Why they decided to stop AngularJS? Because they wanted to build something new which can overcome all these issues. Whatever they are facing, because they don't want to continue those same issues in the modern generation also. That is the reason. What happened is Google introduced Angular. Google introduced Angular in 2014. They introduced Angular in 2014. Before Angular, it was what? AngularJS. It was AngularJS. They introduced Angular in 2014. Before Angular, it was AngularJS. And they introduced this Angular in 2014 as a version 2. That means it is called Angular 2. Angular 2. Before Angular 2, it was called as what? AngularJS. From Angular 2, it is completely different. Remember, Angular 2 is not extension to Angular 1. It is not extension to AngularJS. Actually, Google rebuilt complete technology. Understood? They rebuilt complete technology. They don't extend it. They haven't extended. That means generally, what do you think? If a new version came, you will think that this new version is having some extensions to old. But Angular 2 is not extension to Angular 1. It is completely reconstructed, redesigned. Angular 2 is completely redesigned. So Angular 2, Google rebuilt complete technology as what? Angular 2. They completely rebuilt this technology as Angular 2. Now, what new things they added into it? That means if anybody asks, is Angular 2 is advanced to AngularJS? No, Angular 2 is not a replacement for AngularJS. It is just an alternative. That means Google says that we are developing a new Angular 2. Google told its developers that we are developing Angular 2, but Angular 2 is not replacement for AngularJS. They said that AngularJS will be there, Angular 2 also will be there. If you want, you can choose any. But which one have better features now? Angular 2 have better features. What are those better features? I will tell you. Those features we will see now. So why they have introduced this Angular 2? Because to overcome the issues of AngularJS. To overcome the issues of AngularJS, they built this Angular 2. And Angular 2, what are the features of Angular 2 is actually Angular 2 features. Angular 2 features. What are the Angular 2 features? The first important is Angular 2 is uses TypeScript as a language. It uses TypeScript as a language. TypeScript is a new language. What is TypeScript? I will tell you in next concept. We will discuss detailedly about that. Instead of JavaScript, they started using this TypeScript. What is specialty about TypeScript is actually TypeScript is an OOP language. That means it is a complete object-oriented programming. Is JavaScript object-oriented programming? No. JavaScript is not object-oriented programming, but TypeScript is object-oriented programming. It is a complete object-oriented programming language. Another important feature is they made modular library. Modular library means library is very lightweight. Lightweight means only the library that is required for the situation will be loaded. Actually, we have two types of libraries. Your technologies are doing that. Generally, I hope your technologies, suppose you are Java or .NET or some other technology, your technologies earlier were having legacy library. They were having legacy library. Now they are changing to modular library. Earlier they used to have legacy library. Every technology legacy only. Even Java, .NET, all are legacy. But very recently, from past few years, they are developing their library as modular. What is modular and what is legacy? One simple example I will tell you. For example, suppose there is a library in this 200 lines is there. Now in this 200 lines library, so out of that only 4 lines. So that means only 4 lines features you are using. Only 4 lines feature you are using in your app. But to use this 4 lines feature, you have to import this complete 200 lines library. Understood? That means even to use a small option, you have to import complete library. That is called legacy. Legacy means you want a small input output function. To handle a small input output function, you have to import a very big library. That means suppose you are using only input or you are using only output, then why you are importing entire library? You can import only what is necessary. This is not possible earlier in technologies, but now technologies are doing that. What is advantage of that? Only the library that is necessary will be loaded into your application. Entire library is not loaded. Only the library that is required for the situation will be loaded. This mechanism is called as what? Modular. Modular, what is the advantage of modular? Modular advantage is applications become lightweight. Applications will be faster in performance. And very important is now little bit reduced gaps. That means because now they are developing for the modern generation, they are addressing the issues of what client regularly needs. Then gaps are gradually reducing, but gaps are not completely fulfilled. Reducing gaps. Even today, every technology will have some gaps, but the gaps reduced when compared to AngularJS. So developers have a choice now. We can use AngularJS or we can use Angular. Companies are asking both sometimes. If companies are looking for experienced people, They ask, we need people with Angular JS and Angular because their old project may be in Angular JS. They want to update to Angular. Then a developer should have knowledge of both. Am I right? So many times people say that Angular JS is no more, Angular is there. But actually Angular JS is also in use. Just Google stopped Angular JS. Google said that it is enough. We are not improving it, but you can still use it. But if you are still using it, we are not responsible for any issues. You are on your own because we are no longer supporting it. You see official website, they have, you can see the official website, angularjs.org. This is AngularJS. This website is still there, and see, they say that AngularJS support has officially ended on January 22. That means up to January 22, AngularJS was improved. That means they were using, they were improving it. Now what they are saying, that means what they are saying that try new Angular. They are saying try new Angular. So previous version is AngularJS. Now the version is Angular. So is AngularJS gone? AngularJS not gone. AngularJS still there, but no improvements. It ceased there. But still companies will use, because just last year only they stopped. Means this year, January 22, they stopped. That means several companies are still using AngularJS. Even if you go, yesterday I showed you already. Suppose you go for Naukri site and search for jobs like full stack developer, Java full stack, .NET full stack, UI full stack, any full stack developer. In full stack developer, you can see some companies will ask you here AngularJS, and see who is asking, Tech Mahindra. And they are asking AngularJS, means they are not for looking for new people, experienced only. Because from past few years, nobody is learning AngularJS, right? So once Angular came, everybody stopped learning AngularJS, but companies are still using. Then who knows AngularJS? Experienced people who started learning AngularJS before Angular came, they know already AngularJS, right? Companies still need AngularJS people, but you don't need to worry about that. Why? Because companies don't expect AngularJS from you. Fresher means they will expect Angular. For experienced people, they expect AngularJS and Angular both, right? But for experienced people also, 2-3 years experience, they don't expect. Vast 5, 8, 10 years experience you are showing, then they expect both AngularJS and Angular. So AngularJS is different, Angular is different. After learning Angular, you cannot handle AngularJS because it is completely different, but you can learn by yourself. That means just by spending few hours on YouTube or any website, you can easily learn AngularJS by yourself, because you are learning a more better Angular than AngularJS. All such features are available, but little different. Syntaxes you need to just understand. Then you can handle the old version also. So to learn Angular, you don't need to learn previous AngularJS. You can directly start learning Angular. But you should know that we have two, AngularJS, another one is Angular. That means to learn Angular, you don't need to learn AngularJS. So directly you can start with Angular. Okay. But here, these are all the versions, and latest version of Angular latest is 15. Angular latest is 15. Just 2 weeks back, 2-3 weeks back, it became stable. That means before that it was Angular 14, but now Angular 15 is latest. So few features are added into it. I will discuss about while learning the concept actually. So here, technically, what is difference between Angular JS and Angular? Is it clear? Right? Angular JS and Angular both are not same. Angular JS is the old version and Angular is the new. Is Angular replacement for Angular JS? No, it is an alternative. That means companies may still ask Angular JS also. But for a fresher, this is enough. Angular is enough. That is one concept. Another important you need to know as important doubt is what is difference? What is difference between React and Angular? Because many times people are confused in this. What is difference between React and Angular? Do I need to learn Angular or do I need to learn React? This is a doubt people usually have. Actually, what is difference? I will tell you a simple point. So we will not go technically because you don't know any React. Just a simple basic point I will tell you. Actually, React is a library. React is a library, and Angular is a framework. Angular is a framework. The first important difference is React is a library and Angular is a framework. Do you have any idea what is difference between a library and a framework? Suppose you are learning various technologies, Java, .NET and all, you may come across with library and framework. What is difference between library and framework? Library? What? Okay, framework. What is a library and framework? You have na, suppose you are learning Java, .NET like technologies. Java have framework like Spring, Hibernate. These microservices. These are frameworks na. .NET have like ASP.NET MVC. Java have Spring MVC. Python has Django or Flask or Grok. These are PHP as code igniter frameworks. So what is difference between a library and framework? Just a simple point I will tell you. Actually, the main difference between library and framework is, to understand that, I will show you one small concept here. One small concept I will explain here. Generally, we are building an application. So we are building a web application and we are using a library. We are building application by using a library. So when you are building application using a library, first thing what happens is, actually it loads static DOM. Web application means it loads static DOM. Static DOM means document object model. It loads a static DOM document. HTML is DOM. HTML presents everything in a DOM. So when you learned HTML, you might have learned about DOM, document object model, right? HTML presents DOM. After loading the static DOM, next what happens is, it loads library. After loading the DOM, it loads library. And the problem with library is, actually library is library is loaded, but problem with library is passive. Library is passive. Passive means it is not active. Library is passive means it is not active. It is not active. Actually, library is loaded, but it is not active. To make this library active, if library is active, then only it starts working. Application starts responding only when library is active. To make the library active, so actually browser uses events. By using events, it makes the library active. Browser events makes the library active. Once the library is active, now application starts responding. That means browser events will make the library active and converts the static DOM into dynamic DOM. Once the static DOM is converted into dynamic DOM, that means now it is responding. It starts responding to you. So what is problem with the library is library can build application. Library can build application, but library cannot control application flow. Cannot control application flow. Library can build application, but it cannot control application flow. Application flow means from where to collect input, where to display output, how to pass the data from one location to another. This all library cannot do. Library can build only application, but library cannot control the application flow. What a framework can do is, framework can do both of things. That means a framework, so a framework is nothing but a framework contains set of libraries. Then framework can build application and it can control application flow. That means framework is having a larger scope. It can build application and it can control application flow. At high level, in every software application, you need library and framework. Library can build application and framework can control the application flow. So at any technology level, if you say I am a Java developer or a .NET developer, when you go to interviews, first question they will ask what frameworks you know. Without a framework, the life of any software developer is incomplete. You cannot be a software developer without knowledge of any framework. It is compulsory. Every application needs a framework. Library is just to build application, but after building application, controlling the application flow is managed by frameworks. So now tell me, which one is huge, React or Angular? Angular is huge. Why? Because Angular is a framework and React is a library. Can library control application flow? It cannot control application flow. Angular have both. But very important here is React is a library. React is a library. But React is a library. It is good for building user interface, UI. It is a library very good for building UI. Suppose your project is using some technology like Java or some technology like .NET, and by using Java and .NET technology, they built already lot of interface. They already built interface by using Java.NET. That interface, they want to make it effective. Then React is best. Understood? That means if Java and .NET is building the complete interface also, and they are looking for making the interface more better, then they need a library which can build good interfaces. They don't need control application flow because Java, .NET have their own frameworks which can control the flow. They don't want to control the flow. They want to just build effective interfaces. Why they don't want to control the application flow? Because it is already there. They already have. Understood? That means already your technology is controlling the application flow. You want only to build the interface effectively. Then which technology is best? React. 100% React is very good for these kind of projects. That means React is good for this. You can see when we look at here, React.js, you can see React. It is a library for building UI. React is a library for building UI, user interfaces. That means it is very good in building effective user interface. So your Java, .NET, PHP, Python, UI, these projects will choose React when they already have some framework in the background. Understood? That means when they already have some framework in the background, then they will choose a library only in the front end. And that library is what? React. But some companies, what they say that, some companies say that we will use framework in the background, but every interface you have to build in the foreground, and that interface must able to control the application flow also. That means majority you are depending on UI only. In that case, in such projects, we need somebody in the front end who can not only just build the application, but also control the flow. Then who is better? Angular is better. That means if your technology is planning for doing lot of work in the front end only, then better to go with Angular. If your technology is planning majority in the back end, only user interface in the front end effective, then you can go with React. So React is good for projects whose majority of backend is ready and only front end interfaces they want to effective. Then React is okay. But in the front end also you need an effective application which can control the flow. Then React is not enough. For that we have to use Angular. So that is the reason you see in job requirements. In the job requirements you see when we looked for, so urgently hiring Java full stack developers, TCS is hiring 5 days ago, 3 to 7 years experience. They are asking Angular and React both. That means they are asking Angular and React both. TCS is asking both. That means you cannot have a choice like Angular or React. That's not a choice. That means in the modern generation, a full stack developer means, because these days full stack developers only trending now. Because if you say I know only Java, only .NET, companies are not interested. Companies are interested only in full stack people in the current generation. That means full stack people means who have knowledge from end to end, from backend database to front end. That means we don't want white elephants anymore. We want donkeys to work in company. Understood? We don't want any white elephants. We want only donkeys to work in software companies. That means they can take every burden on them. They can manage everything. White elephants means specialists. They don't know anything else other than specific. Those white elephants are kicked out now. You see, generally in news, you are seeing that recession is coming. So many companies are kicking out. Recession is not for you. Recession is for white elephants. Understood? Recession is only for the people who are not updating their skills, who are not aware of all the concepts in a technology, who are aware of only few things and who are not updating. Recession is for them. Not for you. Lot of opportunities are there now. If recession is there, why it is asking 5 days ago we need 3 to 7 years experienced people? That means, and 3 days 5 days ago job is posted and nobody hired till now. If it is hired, they might have removed this. That means the point is, recession is not for the people who are complete in all tech concepts of technology. Only for the people who are aware of only few things. That means in companies currently, we have so many senior people who know only certain things. They don't have idea on complete. Such people we are removing now. We don't want such people because already we given lot of time to them to update. They haven't updated, then we kick out. Right? Companies are doing that now. That is why you may be very much panic about that. Right? Recession is going on, recession is going to come, that nothing is going to come. Because usually December, January, up to December to March, software companies will not hire many people. That is only the fact. Every year this happens. From December to March, software companies will not hire people very much. That is the general reason, general fact everybody knows. That is, these TV channels and these people make it like a recession for us. It is not any recession coming, or it is not any recession we are having. Right? That is only for only experienced people, because December month is completely off in US and everywhere, Western countries, because of Christmas Eve and New Year. So all projects are closed. Work is closed actually there. No more work. So what happens? New people are not taken into the projects. After January, February, this again starts. That is a common every year that happens. So only the people who don't have multiple skills, they have problem in companies. That's the reason these days everywhere full stack developers they are asking. No Java developer, we want Java full stack developer. No .NET developer, .NET full stack developer. Because they must have idea on everything. So is Angular and React choice? It's not a choice. For a fresher, you can choose any. You can choose any. So for a fresher, you can choose either React or Angular. But if you have time, you can spend in learning both of them. It will be a very good advantage. Because if companies looking for both and they see only one in your resume, how they can call you? Am I right? That is the reason people say, I learned Angular, but calls are not coming. Some companies may not require Angular people. Some companies may require React people with Java. Some companies require Angular with Java. Then React people are not suitable for that. This will be common. So what is difference between Angular and React? Angular is a library and Angular is a framework and React is a library. And React is good for building UI and Angular is a framework good for building UI and controlling application flow. It is good in both. Then you may ask, then why can't we use Angular everywhere? Because it can build UI and it can control the flow. Why we cannot use? Because it becomes heavy. Already backend it is heavy. Then why to make the front end also heavy? Front end we will make light. For that we will not choose Angular. We will choose what? React. That is the difference between Angular and React. So, and very important, libraries actually need a lot of DOM manipulation. I will show you this here. Actual concept I will explain in a simple here. Where is the application flow? All right, I will show you. One small application flow I will show you here. You can understand that. So library and framework. Yeah, you can see this is the library and framework. Generally what happens is you developed an application with a library. When you developed an application with library, first step what happens? So first page loads into browser. After loading the page into browser, it loads the static DOM. After loading the static DOM, library loads. Library loaded, but it is not active. To make the library active, what we have to do? Events. Events makes the library active, then application starts responding. Library can build application, but it cannot control the application flow. But framework, it loads into DOM and it starts responding. It is active so that it can directly control the application flow. You will see very interesting here. Practically, I will show you. See, don't worry what I am doing. Just observe the concept. You will understand, right? Just observe the concept. You don't need to worry what I am doing. Just see. Suppose in this, I have one project here. In this project, I will create a simple page, some library.html. Okay, I'm creating a page with a library. I will use a library like JavaScript or jQuery. I will use jQuery library. So source, it is jQuery. So we will install. I'm installing jQuery actually here. jQuery I'm installing, and I will install Angular also. It will be, yeah. We will install Angular. I'm installing jQuery and I am installing Angular. Just see the concept difference, you will understand, right? Fine. Now you see I'm including here jQuery. I am using a jQuery library. So there is an option username, and it is a text box. Input type is text and ID is username. And here we have another break. Some heading is there, some heading or paragraph. Now what I want to do is I want to write a simple logic. You might have learned in JavaScript also. So JavaScript jQuery, here what we want to do here is, if anybody typing some name here, while typing that name, we have to collect and display below saying hello, that username. While typing, I have to do. Then see what I am doing. I'm writing a simple logic here. We are writing a simple logic. We will first collect here the value. So from we will collect a paragraph. In the paragraph, we are displaying. Here we are displaying hello. And that whatever username is there. So here we are displaying the username. Don't worry about the logic I am writing. So you just need to understand the concept here. So hash username dot val. So what is the logic I written is, I written a simple logic to collect the value from text box and to display inside the paragraph. Collecting value from text box and displaying paragraph. That is the logic I written. I run this here now. I will run this. Hello is there. I am typing something and it is not working. Hello is coming means library is loaded. Library is loaded, page is loaded, but it is not responding. It is not responding. What I have to do, I have to write events. Events means I have to tell when to update this into this paragraph. Generally, you have on click. Am I right? On click, on change, on key up. Here we have to write an event. See what is that I am writing here. So username is a text box. We are using key up. On key up, I am writing some logic here. On key up, I am writing like this. This key up is an event. On this event, this functionality is performed. Now this is library. And you see now I am typing here. It is working. This is library. First library loaded, but library not responding. To make the library respond, we have to use events. Understood this point? That means library is loaded, but library is not active. It is passive. To make the library active, what we have done? Events. By using events, we made it active. Let's see the same concept in framework. See the same concept in framework. I will add another page. Framework page. Okay. In this page, I will not use a library. I will use a framework of Angular. So it is node modules, Angular, Angular.js. It is a framework. Now, framework is taking control of my body section. And here I am taking user name. I said name, your name, something. And I put a text box. Input type is equal to text. And here I will display some break. And here I will put a heading. I will say hello. Whatever username entered in text box, I want to display here. Then I am just using ng model is equal to uname. And here I want to display that username I'm writing. Am I using any code? Am I using any events? I'm not using any code, any events. I'm using any references. One reference is there. This is model and the model is displayed here. Events, logic, nothing is there. Let's run this and see. Here I am typing, it is working. I haven't mentioned when to update. Is there any event here? If without event, how it is taking control? That means framework is taking control of your application. It can know from where data is coming. It can know where to display the data. This makes simple. That is the point. In React, you have to write like this. In Angular, it will be like this. Understood? That means React is a library. There you have to depend on a lot of events and all. Angular is a framework. Here also we need events, but no need to depend for every purpose on event. We need events also, but we can do more without events also. That is what the ability of a framework. Framework can build application and framework can control the application flow. That means how this works that you will learn in Angular. How this is going to work you will learn in Angular. I just given you the difference to make you understand how framework is better than library. But framework is not great every time. Right? Every situation framework is not great. That is the reason we need both. Some projects we need library, some projects we need framework. So that means, so React and this difference is that React is good for building what? User interfaces. Angular is good for building user interface as well as application flow. But Angular is heavy. So in the UI, right? Until or unless your backend is lightweight, don't use Angular. If Bangalore backend is very lightweight, then you can use Angular. Backend is so heavy and lightweight front end you want, then you can go with React. That means you are already controlling everything in the backend. Front end you need only effective interface. That's the reason every technology developer in the current generation, he needs knowledge of Angular as well as React. Right? But for fresher, any one is enough. But once you have experience, that means 1-2 years experience, then better you learn both. Even for fresher also these days, we suggest to keep learning both and keep in your resume. Because lot of opportunities you will miss in majority of projects sometimes when you learn only one. And not only that, even after you go into a company, there they may ask you to update to React also. They will ask, obviously they will ask. They will say that you worked for 4 months or 5 months, 6 months, one project finished. Next project, you have to work on React. Then if you say, I don't know React, then they will kick you out. Am I right? You are a Java developer. Currently, you got a job on Angular project. That's good. You can work after the project finished next. It is not necessary that next project also will use Java with Angular, .NET with Angular. Then you have to have knowledge of both, right? As of now, to improve the job opportunities, better to have knowledge of both. But one is enough, because if you learn a framework like thing, then that is enough. As a fresher, that is enough. Okay. So you can choose any of these. I just explained the difference between them, right? It is not like which one is best. Okay. Understood all the concept? Is it clear? Understood the difference between Angular and Angular JS, right? Angular and React. Now we will start working with Angular. But for working with Angular, we cannot directly start Angular. We have to learn a language called TypeScript. First, we will learn this TypeScript. Then we will go into Angular part. That we will see in our next session. Right? Tomorrow we will do that. So from tomorrow, we will start practical. Okay, from tomorrow we will start practically working. Then I will show you how to install, what to install, setup and everything. Offline people, you can bring your laptops if you have, right? If you have any doubts, you can ask here itself directly. Okay, online people, at the end of session, we can contact them. Right, at the end of the session, we will look into their problems and we will talk to them. Offline, you can directly bring here. Okay, what I will do is, so last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I will spend only for doubts. Okay, na? Right? So we will have last 20-25 minutes only for doubts of clarifying once we start practically. Okay. Tomorrow onwards, we will do that. Okay. And all these notes I will upload into Google Classroom. Please note down this Google Classroom code. You can join this Google Classroom code. I will push this here. This is the Google Classroom related code for your batch. I will upload all these documents, and previous video I will upload here. This is the Google Classroom code. Yesterday's video I will upload here. Huh? Yesterday's session's video I will upload here. Okay. Everyone got it? Got this code right? Yeah. Here I will upload yesterday's. This is actually yesterday's video I am uploading, and today's notes and everything I will upload there. Okay. From tomorrow onwards, our notes and everything will be here. All the diagrams, everything I will upload here. Okay. Tomorrow we'll continue then. Right. Thank you.